Proxmox, TrueNAS, Home Assistant, Plex, Vaultwarden, Gitea, Ghost, Invoice Ninja, FreshRSS feeding into N8N, a bookmark manager I just installed that I genuinely should have installed a while ago. Every year, Homelab content creators make a video showing everything that they're running on their servers. So this is mine for 2026. I'm going to walk you through everything running on my ZimaCube right now. The stuff that I use every single day, the stuff that runs quietly in the background, keeping everything else working, and a few things that are there just because I thought it would be fun to build. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. Now, before we get into the full tour, I want to quickly show you something that I just set up that I wish I had set up sooner. My browser is full of bookmarks that are only kind of generally categorized, and I have a hard time finding what I'm looking for. So recently, I installed something called Faved. Faved is a self-hosted open source bookmark manager, and your links live in your server, not on someone else's cloud or disorganized in your browser. There are no browser extensions required. You can just drag the bookmarklet to your toolbar, and saving any page is a one-click operation, and it works in any browser. Tag your bookmarks, and they instantly organize in the sidebar. You can search, filter, and find what you need fast, the way a bookmark manager is actually supposed to work. You can deploy it yourself in just a couple of minutes or skip the setup and use their managed cloud option. Either way, you stay in control. For more information, be sure to check out the link in the description and check out Faved. All right, now let's jump into the rest of the stack that I've got running right now. Now, everything that I've got running is running on my ZimaCube, which is running Proxmox. And if you haven't seen Proxmox before, it's a hypervisor that lets you run virtual machines and lightweight Linux containers called LXCs on the same hardware. Now, most of what I'm going to show you is running inside LXC containers, which are basically isolated environments that share the host kernel. They're fast to spin up, they're lightweight, and they're easy to manage. But the heavier stuff, like Home Assistant and Plex, they get their own virtual machines. I've got my storage split across two pools on the ZimaCube, and my VMs live on a pair of 8 terabyte drives in a RAID Z1 configuration. My LXCs are on a 3-drive NVMe pool, also RAID Z1, which keeps my containers running fast. Then I've also got a TrueNAS VM with 4 8 terabyte drives passed through in its own RAID Z1 configuration. And that handles both storage and media acquisition, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. And Cloudflare handles remote access so that I can reach everything securely from anywhere. So that's basically the foundation of my setup. Now, let's talk about what's actually living on my server. First up is Koffan, or Koffan. I'm not actually sure the full proper way to pronounce that, but this one is dead simple in concept. It's a self-hosted shopping list that's designed for couples and families. You and whoever you live with share one list, and changes sync in real time across devices. There's no account registration and no cloud service and nothing to sign up for, just a single password shared among all of the users. And what I really love about this is how lightweight and easy to use it is. The whole thing uses just a couple of megabytes of RAM, and it's a PWA, so it installs on your phone like a native app. It has offline mode, so you can still use it in the store with a bad signal, and it even has autocomplete that remembers what you've bought before. Also, it is written in Go, which is part of why it's so lean. And honestly, it's a great example of what self-hosting is actually for. Replacing a paid app or cloud service with something that you control that does exactly what you need and costs you basically nothing to run. Next is Obsidian LiveSync, and this one is essential for how I work. I use Obsidian for basically everything: notes, scripts, research, planning. But the problem with Obsidian is that it is local first, which, don't get me wrong, is great for privacy, but means that syncing across devices is either a paid subscription or a DIY problem, and LiveSync solves the DIY version of that. It uses CouchDB as the backend, which I'm running as its own LXC. And when I make a change on my desktop, it syncs over to the server, and then every other device picks it up in seconds. No third-party servers, no subscriptions, and my notes stay on my hardware. If you're an Obsidian user and you're paying for sync, or you're doing something janky with a shared folder, this is worth setting up. It isn't necessarily the simplest thing in the world to configure, but once it's up and running, it's rock solid. And this is actually something we haven't covered on the channel yet. So if you're interested in this, let me know and I'll see about making a video about Obsidian LiveSync. Next up is Home Assistant. And if you have any smart devices at all, you probably already know what this is. But for anyone new here, Home Assistant is an open source home automation platform that runs locally, which means your smart home actually keeps working when the internet goes down. down or when some company decides to sunset their cloud service. Now, I run Nextcloud as a dedicated VM on Proxmox rather than in a container, mostly for the add-on ecosystem and because I want it isolated from the rest of my stack. Also, I installed it as a Proxmox helper script just to see how it would go, and it's been up and running for nearly 2 years without issue. I've got it controlling lights, monitoring a bunch of sensors around the house, and I have automations set up that do things like turn lights and TVs on and off at specific times, or based on whether or not someone is in the room. I actually did a pretty significant cleanup of my automations recently and reorganized everything by area, which made the whole thing a lot easier to maintain. So if your automations.yaml file is getting out of hand, I cannot recommend enough organizing your stuff by area. And then there's Plex. Yes, still Plex. I know some of you are going to come for me in the comments about Jellyfin, and I've tried it, but for my setup and my household, Plex is still the one that works best for me and mine. I've got Plex running as a VM with direct access to my TrueNAS storage where I keep my extensive collection of, let's call them Linux ISOs. Totally legal, open source, educational materials. Anyway, Plex is the service that my family actually uses. Everyone in the house has the app on their TV or phone or whatever, and it just works. I've got an Intel Sparkle A310 taking care of transcoding, and it's been rock solid. So there's really not much more to say. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Now let's talk about the stuff that actually keeps everything secure and reachable. First is Vaultwarden, which is my self-hosted Bitwarden compatible password manager. And if you're using a password manager and it's not self-hosted, this is a pretty easy win. Next is Cloudflared, and that handles remote access so I can reach my services from anywhere without opening any ports. And then we've got Marreta, which is a paywall bypass tool, which I'm including here in the spirit of full transparency about what's on my server. But if I'm 100% honest, Marreta is one of those things that's only there for the every once in a while. I don't have to use it very often, and sometimes, if I'm honest, it doesn't work. So Marreta is kind of hit and miss, but it's always nice to have in my back pocket just in case. On the content publishing side of things, I've got Ghost running for that Homelab Launchpad project that I started last year and never did anything with, unfortunately. I've got WordPress for my main site and URLs for custom short links. I've also got Postiz handling social media scheduling, which I'm still working into my workflow on a daily basis. And there's also LinkStack, which is a self-hosted link and bio page, which replaces paying for one of those third-party services. For the business side of running a YouTube channel, I've got EspoCRM for managing sponsorship pipelines and contacts, and I've got Invoice Ninja for sending invoices with Stripe and PayPal integrations. And these two together handle basically everything that used to live in scattered spreadsheets. BookStack was one of the first public services that I self-hosted. Now look, I haven't touched it in a couple of years, but some of my older videos still link to the resources in it, so I leave it running. We've got Lenpaste, which is a self-hosted paste bin, and FreshRSS combined with N8N is my news and automation layer. FreshRSS pulls in feeds, and N8N watches for interesting stories and routes them to where I need them when I need them. Gitea is my self-hosted Git server, and Gotify handles push notifications so Gitea and other services can actually reach me. Speedtest Tracker runs scheduled internet speed tests and logs the results over time, which is great for having receipts when your ISP is lying to you, and luckily my ISP hasn't lied to me yet. And then there's my AI game, and a while back I built a little browser-based jumping game as a Docker containerized project. It lives on the Homelab, it has no practical purpose, it's built on AI, and I'm not even sorry about it. So that's the stack, and that's where I would normally say that's the stack for now. But the reality is I feel like I've kind of hit a homeostasis where I rarely change or add anything. Also, I'm curious about what you're running. Be sure to drop your favorite self-hosted services down in the comments section. I genuinely read the comments, and I found some of my best discoveries from people mentioning things in the comments of videos exactly like this one. Also, if any of the services that I mentioned here in this video caught your eye or you want to voice your opinion about it, be sure to let me know about that in the comments section as well. But I think with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank you guys for spending a few minutes of your day with me here today, and I'll talk to you in the next video.